Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Ksenia and I have a few books I want to talk to you about today. I'm very happy to say I enjoyed all four of them. So the first book I finished is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. It's a very meaningful and profound book, and even though I finished it at the beginning of the month, so yeah, almost a month ago I suppose, I still think about it and the memory is still fresh inside my head. And this book has a very interesting aftertaste. So I enjoyed the book while reading it, but I enjoyed so much more after I finished it. The book starts on the day of the epidemic, and the epidemic kills 99% of the population. And then the narration switches back and forth between the first day when the epidemic just began and year 20, so 20 years after. And then it switches back and forth, and then occasionally it goes to show some days in between those two periods. There are a lot of different characters, and we follow them all in different timelines. So we get one character in year 20, then the second character in the first day, then the third character somewhere in between. So to me, that was a good thing and a bad thing. So the drawback for me was that because it's told from the omniscient perspective, omniscient, is that correct? I write this word a lot, but I don't think I've ever said it out loud. Omniscient.
Omniscient.
Omniscient. Wow. So the drawback for me was because the book is told through the omniscient narrator, and this narrator knows what everybody's thinking and feeling at the same time. The narrator knows what happened, what will happen, what is happening now. And to me, that distanced me from the characters a little bit. I wasn't as much in their heads as I would have wanted to, as I usually like when I'm reading the book. But at the same time, it made the story so profound and even epic. It's incredible to know all the different connections, all the different tiny things that the characters don't know, but you know. And you know that they're connected, and to me it was very exciting to follow them in their paths, and knowing that they would eventually cross paths and meet and realize the connections, and so amazing. I was really excited by the end. But yeah, obviously the whole book is very good, not just the end. So the book really made me think about civilization and how fragile the civilization is. And I don't think that's something people usually think about, at least me, because we're so used to living in the world as it is. We don't really think, what would happen if 99% of the population would suddenly be gone? And this book explores it in a very meaningful way. And yeah, it shows how everything just stops working gradually at first, but then suddenly one day nothing is working because nobody's there to make things happen. And you realize that yes, even a cup of tea, you have it because so many people have worked to make it happen. And then if one day people just disappear, you won't even have a cup of tea. And unless you had a very big stash of it in your drawers, which I have. So anyway, another thing that I really enjoyed that this book explored is the discussion of whether or not people should pass on the knowledge about the world, how it used to be, to younger generations. And there were a lot of people who were against it. But then obviously there are people who think that of course we should pass on the knowledge because you can't have future without the past. And I suppose that's the author's point of view, and that's my point of view, and it was really interesting discussion inside. And this book is very helpful. This book is very hopeful for the future of humanity. In my review of The Road, I talked about how much hope I saw in The Road, even though I don't think not everybody sees it that way. Some people think it's more about hopelessness, and this one is very clearly about hope, about the renewal of life, about how everything will be okay. It's out there, you can't miss it, and I liked it. I like hope, and I like when it's subtle, but I also like when it's just out there, hope. Yes, it's a wonderful book. So the next book I read is 12 Chairs by Ilya Eliyev and Evgeny Petrov. Russian book, as you can see, and I will put something in English over here. So yes, this book was written in 1927 and it is set in the very early days of USSR. The people in here are still a little bit unsure what is happening, what's going on, what does it mean for them, this new regime and everything. And there are a lot of funny moments that play around it. So it follows two characters that are hunting down an antique set of chairs because they know that in one of, there are 12 chairs, and in one of those 12 chairs is a huge sum of money is hidden. They are not the only ones who are after the chairs. There are a lot of characters who also know about that. All the situations that these characters are into, it's hilarious. It's absolutely amazing. So these two characters are absolutely opposites. One of them keeps failing at everything he does and another one keeps outwitting everyone. So they are a very hilarious pair and it's super fun to watch. So yeah, the thing is that none of the characters have any moral compass. None of the characters are nice or want to do anything nice. They just want the money. So they have greed that makes them do all the things that they do, and it's not pretty. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens, and the book never sugarcoats anything. But because it's written in such a funny style and such a manner of making everything a joke, it really makes you laugh. Even though, if you think about it, the book is kind of depressing. The things that are happening, the things that people are thinking and doing, it's really not very fun. But the book makes it fun. I don't know how. It's incredible. If you're interested in Russian literature but you don't want to read anything depressing, anything too depressing, this is definitely the book I'd recommend. It's really funny and really fast-paced, and I think it captures the feel of this period really well. The next book I read, or rather listened to, is called The Gene, An Intimate History by Siddhartha Mukherjee. And this was absolutely incredible. I've only just started reading nonfiction, but this one I think so far is the best that I've read. So yeah, there's a lot of research and a lot of history about the gene, but also the author tells us a lot about personal examples of people who took part in research, and even the scientists were depicted as real human, and it was easier for me to understand their motivations and the mistakes that were made. So I really loved how the author kind of combined the research and the more humane part of the story. It was really good. I will admit sometimes the book got too smart for me, and I remember listening and thinking that I don't understand what the author is talking about, and I don't know if it's because I was listening. Maybe if I read the book it would have been easier to trace because you can go back and stuff like that. So yeah, the author talked a lot about personal stuff, about his personal life. So his mother had a twin sister and he used example of her and her twin sister when he talked about twin studies and nurture versus nature and all that stuff. And in his family there were cases of schizophrenia and bipolar disease. It made the book way more personal than I expected, and I really loved it. I think it was a very nice touch from the author to include something so personal in the book. It was written in such a manner that to me it felt like the author just talked to me, just told me some stories that he heard, told me stories of his own family and just shared his knowledge with me. And I think for a non-fiction book it's an incredible accomplishment to make you feel like you're just sitting there on the couch and talking to a person. And it might be because I listened to an audiobook, I don't know, but I would still highly recommend this book to anyone. And yeah, like I said, it's the best non-fiction I've read, even though I can't say I have read a lot, but still it was really good. So the last book I read is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This book, it's pretty thick. It's 600 pages and the font is really small. And also, I am a slow reader, but I read it in 2 weeks, so... And this book resembles a classic novel a lot, in a sense that it's very dense. It's very heavy with metaphors and allusions, and also a lot of it can be cut, like a lot. So one of my notes says, either it's a clever foreshadowing or a lazy editing. It was lazy editing, and there were lots of instances like that. The book has its faults, but it's absolutely incredible. I loved every page of it, even the tedious page, because I think it's still paid off. So yeah, the plot, as always, I keep forgetting to talk about the plot. So the book follows an elite group of students, 6 people, who study Greek in a prestigious college. The book starts with prologue, and in the prologue it says that they killed one of their own. It's right out there on the first page. And then in the first part of the book you learn how and why they killed him, and then in the second part of the book you learn what happens after they killed him. So it's like before and after. So even before I started reading it, I was really excited and I knew I would love it, because in all the reviews, in a lot of reviews I read, people were really hating on the characters, saying that they're horrible people, they are inexcusable, they do horrible stuff, they're snobs, blah blah blah. And I thought, yeah, I will enjoy it. I really love reading books with unlikable characters or with unreliable narrators. This one has both. The characters are horrible. They are despicable people. They do horrible things. I mean, they kill their friend in the book, so, you know. But what made it really entertaining for me is that they were really well drawn. Even though they were horrible people, they said and did and thought horrible thoughts. The way the author drew them, portrayed them, and explained why they are the way they are really worked for me. I thought it was done really well, and the characters were very believable. And one of the greatest things that I absolutely loved about this book is that how it manipulates you. All characters are bad, as I've already said, but the character that is killed is really, really, really horrible. He's the most horrible of them all. And even somewhere in the beginning I wrote something like, Bunny makes it almost too easy to hate him. He is homophobic, he's sexist, he's rude, he's a liar, he manipulates his friends, he doesn't love anyone but himself, he's a bad person, and the book makes you really hate him and makes you think, yeah, he deserves to die, well, obviously he's a horrible person. And then I stopped and thought, well, no, he doesn't deserve to die. No, he never did anything that justifies killing him, especially getting killed by your friends. I can't imagine how that felt for him. And he doesn't deserve it, even though the book manipulates you to think that, yes, he should be dead, he's a horrible guy. And I really love that. And then afterwards, when he's already dead, and the friends, there is like a police investigation, and again the book manipulates you into hoping they aren't found out, even though they committed a murder and they should be punished for it. The book makes you hope that they're not found out, and it's really good. Oh, and the best thing is that you want these characters to get away with murder, even though you hate them. So this book, the same as Station 11, this book had a very interesting narration. So this was a very, very close third point of view. So the book only stayed with Richard, our main protagonist, and it never showed what anybody else was doing or thinking. So yeah, lots of important stuff has happened off screen. When I read it, I was really annoyed by it, because nothing really happens, and then another characters come to Richard and starts telling him that this and this and this and that happened, and it's all very exciting and interesting, but it happened off screen, and you just hear it from another person's narration. And then, as the book progressed, Richard starts to wonder, first of all, why did they tell him that? All of those things that happened. And then he starts to wonder if all of those things are true, and maybe some of it were lies, which one of those were lies. So it really plays around with this perspective. You are in the same boat as Richard, you have no idea what really happened. It was really cool how that unraveled, and I started really enjoying this close third POV as I read. So yeah, Richard is the protagonist, but he never does anything too important. He just wanders around, and he even acknowledges this closer to the end that he's just an observer. and he thinks that these people are his friends, while in reality he never gets too close to them. He doesn't know them too well, and lots of things are revealed in the very end that I know some people have problems with, that, you know, it comes out of nowhere, but I really thought it worked because to the readers it comes out of nowhere. You spend the whole book with those people, and then in the end you find out that, you know, you find out something big, and you're shocked, and Richard is shocked, and that works because you are the protagonist. And yeah, there are lots of allusions to Greek literature that I'm sure many of them went just over my head, but I did catch some, and some of them were quite obvious, like you can see the quotation. And yeah, I really loved it. I enjoyed them talking about how Greeks lived and how they think that the way Greeks live is like the superior way of living, and how they think they're better than everyone, and you know. So I hope that was more or less clear. I have still lots of thoughts and feelings about this book. So yeah, like Station 11, it stays with me. Even though I finished it recently, I think I still will think about it for months to come. Yeah, it's an incredible book. And if you've read it, I would love to discuss, because yes, there's a lot to discuss. So that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm always happy to talk in the comments about the books, about anything else. And I'll see you next time. Bye!